He's Brad Sturdy. I'm Larry Smith. Glad to bring you another hour of pure joy if you're an orange and blue fan. Even if you're not, we have other stuff too we're going to talk about. We will be joined in a moment by CC Parchment, the freshman from the Illini women's basketball team. Big win for them. The opening night, the other night against the Southeast Missouri State. Kendrick Prince is going to join us talking recruiting as well. And of course, the world popular, very famous Vegas is Jealous, our football picks coming up into the show. Can't miss that. Fellas, it's a football bye week right now. So the week off, look, they got the win against Rutgers last week. Luke Altmaier, the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week with a 5-touchdown day, 4 of them through the air. I thought this was a good get-right game, if you will, after back-to-back losses before that.
No question. It was interesting. This was a game where Illinois defense, Rutgers has a good offense. They have scored points. They just can't stop anybody. And it was like, well, that's Illinois, right? So, but I think that it made sense when you looked at the schedules that they had played. Illinois had played a much tougher schedule when they had struggled with their defense. And so I think it showed out on the field. And a lot of times we put Illinois, they're 6-3 now, and we think about it. Your losses are to number 1, number 2, and at Washington, who's now into the rankings in there as well and moving up. And so you're kind of like, that's not that bad. This is kind of I'm not saying they couldn't have won the Washington game maybe or something, but that's not bad.
I go back to how many years that Illinois was 3-6, 2-7, 1-8, 0-9, which has happened. And Brett Bielema has changed this equation fundamentally for Illinois. And so it was kind of nice to see them go out and take care of business and look good. And, you got the opportunity to go do it again. So, go for 9-3 and see if you can get at least back into that top 25 by the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said it last week. I say it again. I'm undeterred. I'm not disappointed by the 3 losses right now because they have 3 games left coming up. They can win all 3 and get to a 9-3 regular season. We haven't seen that before. Back-to-back 9-win seasons. I mean, I think it's like the 19-0 something last time this happened. So I'm with you, Mike. I remember there's so many lean years. There've been more lean years than clean years, right? So let's enjoy. I wanted to rhyme there. So let's enjoy it while we can. Maryland next week, get a chance to get to another 10-win season and some consistency. That's the big thing. Not just success, but consistent success. We don't see that with the Illinois program, but you still have a chance to do that right now. And it starts with going 1-0 next week against the Terrapins.
Yeah, I mean, if you finish this year 9-3, and anybody who thinks that's a disappointment is on drugs. So
yeah.
Maybe we're on drugs. I don't know. Regardless, but I mean, 9-3 is a great year for Illinois football. If you can consistently win 8, 9, 10 games, I mean, that's what you want to do, right? And then maybe you'll have a special year at some point. But you keep putting yourself in that position. It's like making the NCAA tournament. You know what I mean? Like you consistently do that. Eventually, you're going to have a year when you make a run, and I think that's what you're looking for. And 9-3 is going to be a pretty darn nice bowl game, and a place to travel down and get some nice warmth for Illini fans.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about for these kids too. You 9-3, and you're building for next season. And the finishing strong would be great because Illinois is going to have to restock for next year. There won't be a Luke Altmaier around. There's going to be a lot of change and people graduating, with the offensive line and some of the defensive starters. And, Hank Beatty won't be there. So put together a really good streak that helps Coach B go out on the recruiting trail and go into the portal and win some portal combat and get some guys here to keep the success going.
Let's talk with basketball now. The Illini team, 17th in the country in the AP, 14 in coaches. Big win Monday night over Jackson State. Fellas, listen, they were missing. Stojakovic still was out. Petrovic was out. Brandon Lee suddenly is out. They're not at full strength. They're going to need it before they all begin to again play against some tougher teams. But it's a very good start on Monday.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you see a lot of guys stepping up and, whether they still had their guys who were returning, like Boswell, Ivasic, and then you saw a guy like David Mirkovic, who was fantastic. He had a double-double in the first half. I thought the question was going to be if he played more in the second half, but he made a couple mistakes, and so he got in trouble and he got taken out a little bit. But I thought he might end up 20-20 or maybe a triple-double at some point. So he looked fantastic. You've got some really good performances from young guys. Ben Humrickhouse knocking down shots, looks so much more comfortable. A lot of guys contributed, and they dominated the offensive glass, and they did exactly what you're supposed to do against a lesser opponent.
Yeah, the cross court pass that he tried was he didn't thread the needle, and it was funny because he had such a good sense of humor about it after the game. So I think you're going to basically get another fan favorite in him, because with that cheerful outlook on top of everything else, it makes for fun. And I thought it was really, really interesting because we knew they were going to take apart Jackson State. We just didn't know that they were going to do it that thoroughly, with 3 contributors not playing at all.
Yeah, well, and they're so long. 61 rebounds in the game. I mean, it was like 61-18, I think, was the count. And that's a big thing I took away. One of the things was how long they are with the 2 Ivicic twins. Hamrickhouse is 6'9", Merkovich 6'9", Jax is 6'10", coming off the bench. He brings some height. It's a really long and deep front court. And Brad, I think you wrote in one of your stories for IlliniGuys.com, maybe the deepest front court we've seen in quite a while for this Illinois program.
Yeah, there's always been a situation where Illinois couldn't afford to have somebody get in foul trouble. Didn't have the right backup. They'd have to go small or not play this. If one 7-footer gets in foul trouble, you put in the 7'2" guy. If he gets in trouble, you got a 6'10" guy. And if they get in trouble, you got another guy who's 6'9" and really physical in Merkovich. So you got basically 4 guys who can play the center position, which is really nice to have in college basketball. If we get anything like the women's game the other night where they're calling a foul every time somebody breathes, then you're still covered.
I think the cool thing, too, is when Kofi went out, the Illini would be a totally different team. Now, when Ivicic goes out, Ivicic comes in, it's not a totally different team. They can play that same style of ball. And if they're giving people problems when the foul trouble comes in, well, there's no respite because we're just going to bring in another guy who can do the exact same thing. It's kind of a neat theory. I think maybe they should always have twin 7-footers that they recruit.
Yeah, a lot of guys who could score, a lot of guys who can shoot. 17 threes, one 3 off the school record. But how about the play of Kylan Boswell? Brad, how important is he going to be to the success of this Illinois team this season?
Well, I think he's one of the most important players they have, and not just because of what he does handling the ball on the offensive end. He is the defensive stopper, and he is the guy at the front of the defense who basically makes everybody better. We always talk about a guy on the offensive end making everybody better. Boswell makes everybody better on the defensive end, and he is the guy who can shut down the other opposing team's best player. And everybody feeds off of his energy. And so I actually wrote in my story about how he played. They scored, I think, you look at their point totals, and they scored 30 points in 28 minutes when he was on the floor, and they scored then 25 points in 12 minutes when he was off the floor. It's very evident how important he is when he's on the court.
At that rate, he's going to play 40 minutes every game then. We hope that Boswell we hope that he can inspire some of the guys too to match that defensive intensity, because if you can get a second player or a third player who puts that type of effort into the defense, it just makes the defense a whole different nut to crack for opponents. And he is certainly leading by example very well for the Illini.
We've got 2 games before we get together and talk again next weekend. Friday night coming up here against Florida Gulf Coast, and then next Tuesday, 10th ranked Texas Tech coming in for the first of several major matchups. It's like you play a top 25 team once a week from this point on. The week after it's Alabama, the week after that is Thanksgiving, it's UConn, and the week after that is Tennessee, literally. And then you take a break for exams. You got Missouri, and then you get into the Big Ten play. What can you expect from these next 2 games? Couple of questions. Andrej Stojakovic and Mihajlo Petrovic, what is their status? Will they be ready to go Friday night, or will it be Tuesday, or do we know?
According to Brad, they're under their day-to-day. Basically, it's questionable for each one of them. I think Stojakovic has been practicing. He practiced on Saturday. Actually had a great practice, but then he was a little bit sore, so they held him out. But the fact that he can go through a practice, majority of practice now, and play well tells you that he's right on the cusp of being ready to go into game situations. And Petrovic, we know he played in the scrimmage, the secret scrimmage a little bit. And played a couple minutes, and he was very good in those couple minutes. But now every time he comes out there, they just want to make sure that he's not hurting that hamstring and that he's able to go 100% when they get to games like Texas Tech or Alabama and so forth, like you mentioned. So I think he's questionable for this one.
Well, the good thing is Stojakovic, if he's practicing that hard, he's no Allen Iverson, so they won't have to worry about that. So there's some positives there.
What are we talking about here? Practice?
Practice? But I will say, I'm really excited. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I'm kind of excited to see what he brings to the table because he's got so many different skill sets. And unlike at Cal, when he stuck out like a sore thumb with the talent level of the rest of the team, he's going to have guys around him that will actually take the pressure off of him as opposed to putting it squarely on his shoulders. So I think he might really be a blessing for us to watch. And I can't wait to see his debut.
Yeah. And with that, Brad, you've seen him play and seen him practice. What does Andrei Stojakovic bring to this team? We've already seen them now a couple of games with the exhibition and the game Monday night against Jackson State. What does he bring to the table? I mean, how does he make this team different right now from what you've seen so far?
Well, he's a guy who can get in the paint. He can attack the rim. He can score at all three levels. He's got the ability to also create his own shot and get a shot off whenever you need it. So late shot clock, he can make a play. He gets the ball in an isolation situation, he can make a play. So he's done a lot of good things. The other thing is I really think he helps because he's another wing defender with 6'7" with length, who can be kind of a really good defender and get in passing lanes, tip passes, slow things down, make it difficult for the other offense. And if you put him and Boswell and Wagler out there together, you've got potentially really good defenders in those three and on the perimeter. And so to go along with the back end where you've got 7-foot guys to protect the rim, it's a pretty good mix.
Yeah, and the overall length, Larry, you brought it up at the start of the segment here, but the overall length is just amazing. And look, as a playing opposing teams, you got to play guys like Braden Smith over at Purdue. He's a heck of a player. You'd sure as heck rather guard him with an extra 3 to 4 inches and then long arms to try to offset his quickness, et cetera. So I think this team defensively, once they kind of get used to playing defense and are committed to it, I think this team is going to be able to put a little bit more at the defensive end than people expect. I'm not saying they're going to be Houston, but I think they're going to play defense at a little bit higher rate than anticipated.
Well, I look forward to this game against the Red Raiders on Tuesday. We talked about last year Brad Underwood scheduling these games to give his team some litmus tests early on to see where they are in their progress. The first big one coming up on Tuesday. Want to get to, before we get to break, the Illini women's soccer team last week making the Big Ten tournament for the first time since 2020. Got the first victory in the first match, lost in the quarterfinals to number 1 seed Washington. Now it appears that in the first year under head coach Katie Halton that they'll on Sunday they'll get a bid to the NCAA tournament. And what a turnaround for this soccer program.
Yeah, it's huge. It's great to see that. It's great to see that turnaround so quickly. And they bought in, and it brought a little excitement to the soccer program in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep, that was nice to see, and it's just goes to show you that the right person leading can spark a lot of change.
Yeah, it's been just a fantastic season with them. So we look forward to talking about them next week as they move on and see where they go here in the postseason. Stay with us right now. We'll take a quick timeout. Coming up, it's the Illini Gal. CC Parchman joining us here talking about their big win. The ladies getting the victory on Tuesday in their opener over Southeast Missouri State. And in a bit, it's Kedrick Prince with the Keds recruiting roundup talking about the latest commitment to the Illini basketball team. Also some big football recruits with their eye on the Illini as well. See what I did there? All right. It's the Illini Guys Sports Spectacular. We're back with more after this.